Okay, today is Saturday, February 3rd, 2007, and my name is Debbie Pinkham, and I'm going to be interviewing my father, Richard Arthur Brown, who goes by the name of Rick. Hello, Rick.
Hello, how you doing?
Dad. Okay, I think I'll ask you first, what branch of the service were you in?
I was in the United States Navy.
And what did you do before you joined the service?
I was in school and did work for the Los Angeles Daily News and some other newspapers, and when I was younger, and mowed lawns and this kind of stuff, and quit school early and joined the Navy at 17 years old.
What made you decide that you wanted to join the Navy?
Well, my brother was in the Navy, and he was a career man, and he joined up and was in Pearl Harbor on the USS Nevada when it was hit and ran aground in 1941. So I knew a lot about the service from him, and decided that that would be probably the best thing for me to do, seeing I was, coming up on 17, and no real career in mind at that time, and I figured the service would give me that edge, in which it did do.
Where were you living right before you joined?
I was living in San Diego, California. The last 6 months before I joined up. Before that, I lived in Los Angeles. Was born and raised in Los Angeles.
And when you first enlisted, where were you located?
In San Diego, actually Pacific Beach, California.
What can you remember about your first days in the service?
Oh gosh, I remember a little sleep, getting up 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, getting a haircut. They shaved my head. It was quite an experience going through boot camp. It really was.
And then
I really would want to do that again.
How long were you in before you got sent somewhere?
I was in 3 months.
And where did they first send you?
To Long Beach, California, to pick up my first ship.
Oh, what was the name of that ship?
The USS Sarcee. It was a fleet tug, the ATF 111. And it was just coming out of dry dock in Long Beach, and I picked it up there. And I always remember that we, the next day after boarding the ship, we took off, and we were going to do a kind of a shakedown cruise and see how the ship would function. And the water was just slick. It was just like ice. I mean, it was like silk, and wasn't, the ocean was real smooth. And I got seasick, and I go, oh my God, I got another 3.5, 4 years of this. This is going to be terrible.
Did you make buddies while you were in boot camp?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Did any of your buddies get sent where you were being?
No, I was the only one that went aboard the Sarcee.
Okay. And where were you sailing to when you left on the Sarcee?
Well, at first we had to go up to Seattle, Washington, and we were standby tug for 2 other fleet tugs that were going to be pulling 2 cruisers from Seattle all the way down the Panama Canal, which took about 30 days. So we went down to Balboa as standby tug, and then we came back to San Diego, and then from there we headed over for Korea in the first part of 1952.
So you'd been in how long at that point?
Just about 7 months.
So far, had you seen any rough seas, or was it pretty smooth sailing still?
Well, I got kind of used to it after the first time. It takes a while to learn how to not get seasick.
I bet. Okay, so you're getting sent to Korea. How long had the war been going on when you were getting ready to get going over there?
Well, the war started in the 1950s, and here we are in 1952, and it's a long ship ride all the way over to Korea from San Diego, California, which is where we were based. We got over to Korea, and we were kind of involved in towing ships and this kind of stuff at that time.
How long exactly or approximately did it take you to get to Korea?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember, because you're not going very fast on a fleet tug. I'd say probably 2.5, 3 weeks.
So were you getting nervous when you were on your way, knowing that you're getting ready to go into possible battle?
Yeah, we had no idea. We're going over what we were going to be involved in at first, okay, at that time.
Okay, so why don't you tell me a little bit about what happened while you were there?
Well, we we got involved like one time with a Korean frigate ship when we were in Japan on kind of a little R&R at that time. We had a call that a Korean frigate had been rammed by another ship, and so we went over to standby tug, and we're actually at the tug, and we were trying to save her. She was listing pretty bad. The another ship had rammed it into the engine room, and of course the superheated steam had got in there and did a lot of damage to the people that were inside, killed a lot of people. We actually put our pumps aboard because the ship lost power, and we pumped it, and we were there for 2 days trying to save the ship, and then we finally got it back into Korea. We got it into a floating dry dock, and then at that time we left and came back to Japan. That was just one of the instances where, you know, we were over there. In fact, the Koreans awarded us the Korean Presidential Unit Citation for saving that ship, which was about 2 months after that happened. We were involved in other things in Korea. We spent a lot of time up in North Korea. We were up in Hungnam Harbor and Ulsan. In fact, Ulsan was in South Korea, but in North Korea, it was pretty rough up there, and we had to go up there one time and pull out a Corsair, which is an airplane that went down, and so we, as a fleet tug, and we have diving equipment aboard, we went over and pulled that plane back up and got the decoder out of it. And then we were real close to the beach, and we were kind of scared that, you know, we were gonna get shot at from there. And but anyway, we got the plane, and we drug it up, and I got some pictures of that and put it on the back of the ship when we got out of there real quick. That was just kind of one instance, but the ironic part of this story is Chief Parrish, who was one of our divers. He went down and put the tail hook on to get the airplane out of the water, and of course when the Sarsi was sunk, he was killed, which is pretty bad thing, really. So anyway, that's kind of what happened there. Just some of the things that we happened on the Sarsi before she was sunk in Hungnam Harbor in 1952.
And you were not on the ship when it was sunk. What? Tell me about that.
Well, that was correct. My dad got sick in San Diego, so I had emergency leave, and coming up. The thing is, when you're in Korea, you just can't get out of there. So they sent in a flying boat, they call it a PBY, and they flew in and landed here at the ship in Korea, in the Korean waters, and they picked me up and took me back to Japan, and it took me a total of 30 days to get back to San Diego. And after I got home, my dad was okay, he wasn't sick anymore, and so I just kind of took a 30-day leave and then headed back over for the ship. Well, when I was on my way back over, I just got to Japan, and I'd missed the Sarsi. It had left Sasebo, Japan 3 days before I got aboard, or before I got back over there. And anyway, the ship hit a mine in Hungnam Harbor and blew off 75 feet of the bow, and that was about midnight on August 27th of 1952. So the crew, they had no choice but to swim out to sea because they were being fired at from the land. And I was kind of hoping at that time that when the survivors got back to Japan that I would be able to come back to San Diego and we would recommission another fleet tug. But ironically, they did not. They sent me aboard an LST for an 18-month tour of duty. The Sarsi is actually the first United States naval tug to ever be sunk, and it was a good ship. I still had some stuff aboard, some china and some fishing poles, and of course it's all gone. I understand that after the Korean War ended, I think they went in 1954, and I think they raised the Sarsi and brought her out, but I do not know that for sure. And we're still missing some people that were on that ship, and they were never found. We never know what happened to them. So.
Do you remember how you felt when you heard that your home away from home was no longer there and friends were no longer there? And
yeah, it's sad. It's a sad thing. Wars are sad. Things that happen in a war zone they're not funny. And sometimes we don't talk about those. When you were young, I never told you what I was doing in the service, and we as a veteran, you kind of keep it quiet what you see. A lot of it's gruesome. Later on, when I was in Korea, I used to watch the Marines and the Army people coming down that were wounded. They were trying to get back to the hospital ship, the Hope, and it was just lines of just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people just shot up and wounded, and they were dying, and it was just a real shame, you know, what you see and this kind of stuff. And the weather's terrible over in Korea. Always, you know, snowing, and the ground's so cold you can't even bury your dead if you're up there in North Korea end of it. And it's just not a fun thing over there.
No. Okay, we were talking about the sinking of the Sarsi and Officer Parrish, who was lost at the sinking. Can you want to talk about any other friends or any memories you have of that event?
Well, it's kind of hard to talk about some of the people you've known for years or for a year anyway, and they're dead, and you know, it's a shame that people die in wars, and there was so many people, not just the people on the Sarsi, but other people, you know, that were killed over there, and you just can't pick out, I don't think, one particular person and just say, hey, I want to dwell on him, because it's kind of a family when you have a 105-man crew. You hope that everybody's going to come back alive, but that doesn't happen sometimes in a conflict that we were in Korea, and yet it wasn't called a war. I still never understood that, why we were even there in some cases, except the South Koreans were being overrun by the North, and then the Chinese from China were coming in and helping the North Koreans, and so we were actually fighting, I think, the Chinese and North Korea more than anything else, just to save South Korea, because South Korea is just a small little area. And but today I know they're very prosperous, and I think that we have really helped them a lot by putting our troops up on the 38th parallel. We got 35,000 troops over there or so now, and here we are 50 years later, still there. If we weren't there, they would be overrun. There would not be a South Korea. It'd all be a communist China probably at the time. Okay?
So your mission was accomplished.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We did a very good job. Whoever was all in charge of what we were doing was very accurate on what was going on. Okay, I think anyway.
Did you always feel the commands you were given were the right commands?
Yeah, because we had no choice. We went where we had to be gone. Had to go, and when we were told to go, we go. And you didn't miss the ship movement or anything like that. And in time of war, it's you're in a different situation all the time, and over there, you know.
Did you feel that everybody around you had your back and you had their back, and that was the way it was supposed to be?
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. We always protected each other as much as we could, you know, and if we were in any kind of a battle or being shot at or something, we made sure that we tried to protect and bring back whoever was wounded or something like that. We tried to bring them back with us.
Okay, what are your memories about the next ship that you were on?
Well, I went aboard a LST, which is a landing ship tank, and we were carrying ammunition over to Korea from Japan, and we mainly carried napalm up on the main deck, and we had 1,000, 2,000 pound bombs down in the lower deck, and we were a floating arsenal. If anything happened, we just jumped overboard and prayed like heck that we wouldn't die, because that ship was a floating bomb. Okay, and anyway, that ship stayed in Korea all the time, and then we were aboard for 18 months, and then we'd get transferred off. I had a lot of fun on that ship. We had a chance to, get up and do a little hunting in Korea, and getting away from the ship and getting out. And
what was the game you were hunting?
we were just going out trying to see if we could get any deers, something like this up in there. I always liked to hunt, and I thought it would be fun to go up there, and we had some good experiences with the crew, and we were a close-knit crew on that ship.
So you had free time?
Yes.
What else did you do in your free time?
Well, I tried to do a lot of studying. I at that time I didn't enjoy too much reading, but I was trying to, catch up on a lot of stuff that I'd missed when I was younger, and it's, I don't know how to put it. I feel that we had why don't you kill at this point here? We'll take this out of here for a minute.
Okay, you were on the USS LST from September of 52 to March of 54. What else can you remember about your time on that ship?
Well, all I know is a lot of times we used to beach steer the craft, and we'd always come in at high tide, and they have a 27-foot tide drop over there in Korea. So we made sure that we hit the beach at a high tide, and when the tide went out, we were just sitting high and dry. There was nobody around us, and we're sitting with no water around us, and it's a weird feeling to know you're on a ship and it's beached. But that's what the LSTs were built for, and we ended up, excuse me, we ended up, getting off the ship after, getting the ship off when the high tide came in again, and then we would go from there off into other little ventures. One of the ventures there was gonna be a big invasion over there in 1953, and I remember we were getting ready to hit the beach. I think I was with the 7th Fleet at the time, and there were so many of the enemy on the beach and on the rocks and the mountains there where we were going to hit that we just turned around and went back out, because it would have been a slaughter. We would have been wiped out. So they called off the invasion, and we all headed it back out to sea. And but that's kind of what has left me with the LST I was on. It was just, that kind of stuff that went on over there.
Next, you were from April of 54 to January of 55 on the USS Sussex. What kind of ship is that?
That's what they call a attack cargo ship, and our duties on that were to supply other ships with ammunition or, food and this kind of stuff, and fuel. And we spent a lot of time between Korea and French Indochina. And we would go down to D-Train Bay in French Indochina and do some things down there, and then come back into Korea. And even though the Korea War was over in the latter part of 1953, there was still a lot of stuff going on, and we had to kind of protect our interests, I guess, for what we had over there. And then I was on that ship for about 10 months or so, and then I had a chance to get shore duty, because they wanted me to ship over and do something else with the Navy for another 4 to 6 years.
And were you willing to commit to another 4 to 6 years?
Well, we thought about it, but I had a little problem. The Navy, they kind of changed the rules. It took an act of Congress to change the. Kill it for a second. I'm gonna get some in my throat. Okay, I was. After getting off the Sussex, I was sent to Naval Air Station in San Diego, and that was to actually put in my last 6 months of duty. During that period of time, they tried to get me to ship over, but I was kind of bitter about an act of Congress that they passed, a law that said that there's no longer, you're not going to get out after 4 years. You're going to have to put in another 4 years of ready reserve, and that was done in 1954. I was supposed to get my honorable discharge in July of 1955, except they extended it till 1959. So that made me really bitter, and I said, well, I'm not gonna ship over like my brother had over the many years. He spent over 20 years in the Navy. So at that time I got out. But when I was in North Island Naval Air Station, I worked in the Officer of the Day's office, and what we did, we took the Officer of the Day excuse me, over to the scenes of any plane crashes or anything else that went on the base. I used to carry over the mail over to San Diego, and I'd put on a .45 automatic pistol, and we had the mail, and we'd go over. They didn't have the Coronado Bridge there at the time, and we'd have to take a little Navy craft over, or the ferry that went from downtown San Diego over to Coronado Island, and and anyway, it was a good duty. I met a lot of nice people on the Naval Air Station, and we had a real good time over there for the last 6 months of service.
And you were in San Diego, which was your hometown, so could you visit family and friends while you were
Yeah,
there?
my mom and dad and my brothers were still living there, and so I had a chance to, get home and see them on weekends and stuff like that I wasn't working.
Okay, is there, so what day, or how did you find out that you were actually going to be discharged?
Well, I knew, and they were gonna let me out on July the 9th of 1955, and at that time I did get my my discharge papers, except I didn't get my honorable discharge until 1959. Okay, my final discharge papers from 1959.
And how long after you get your papers are you actually out?
You're done at 1959. Yeah, otherwise I was kind of ready reserve. In case something happened, I could be pulled back in, and that's pretty bad when there's a draft already in place, and yet they did that to me, and here I joined and went through all that, and here they said, yeah, you would get out the day before your 21st birthday, and that didn't happen. I got out, but I didn't get my discharge and that, so it really kind of burnt me at that point about the service.
And you had joined when you were still 17. Wasn't there an age limit at that point?
Yeah, you had to be 17, and if you joined up anytime during your 17th birthday, it was considered a kiddie cruise. Or I should say, anytime before your 18th birthday, that was considered a kiddie cruise, and you'd get out the day before your 21st birthday. So, but I joined up on my 17th birthday, so I had exactly 4 years of service in. Okay.
So you must have been one of the youngest in the military.
I was, yeah.
How did they let you do that?
Well, you got to be 17, and your parents have to sign a waiver. And my mom and dad signed it like you go on service, and it was the best thing for me at the time because there was nothing at home.
Can you remember any of the food or provisions you had in any of your years that you were away? Favorite meals or things that you'll never eat again?
Probably in Hawaii. We got in Hawaii one time, and I went to a luau when I was young, like 17 years old, and I think it was a pretty good time to have. And since then, though, I've gone back to Hawaii a lot of times, and since I've been out of service. And for when I do go back to Hawaii, I always make sure I go over to Punch Bowl, and we visit the graves and the markers for the people that were killed in the service when I was over there.
You recognize a lot of names on the wall?
Yeah, that's very true. In fact, I've taken my grandchildren and my daughter and her husband over and showed them the markers and what happens in wartime. But Punch Bowl is a beautiful place to visit in Honolulu.
Pretty emotional when you're there.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
I remember you naming names, and we'd look for them on the wall, and we found every name that you mentioned.
Yeah. We were running around the walls there, and we were looking for all the servicemen that didn't make it that I knew, and we found them all.
Found them all.
Yeah.
Tell me about when you were on the ship. Describe the quarters that you had.
They're very tight. You have a little place to put all your writing utensils and your 100 pounds of clothes that you pack in a sea bag, and it's just a small little compact little area that you've got, and you got a lock on it, and your bunk is real small, and there's 3 people above you if you're on the bottom level, and you almost can't turn over. Okay, it's really tough.
And you're tall, so how long were the beds or the bunks approximately?
They were just about 6 foot. Okay, I kind of overhung because I'm 6'2".
And clothing, what type of clothing did you have?
Well, we had standard Navy clothing, which is warm during the wintertime. You have your Navy blues and pea coats and this kind of stuff. You had gloves, and all that was issued to us. We made sure that when we were in Korea that the ship had extra cold winter gear on it, and that kept us from staying. That kept us really warm when we were outside.
Were there heaters in your bunk quarters?
Oh yeah. The ships they're heated. They're well maintained. And, they're comfortable. I mean, for being in a service and being in a war zone or something like that. It's not a bad way to live, and you can survive. Yeah.
You could get a good night's sleep.
Sometimes, but you always had to pull duty when you were at sea. And, but I slept good when I was in the service. I didn't have any problem with that.
How'd you eat?
Ate very good. Okay, 'cause I was kind of skinny anyway. I was a young kid, and I was on the thin side, probably 160 pounds and 6 foot, over 6 foot. So the weight will tell you what happened. When I came out, I was still just about 165 and the same height. So I really started gaining some weight after I got out of service.
Did you have some good chefs that would come up with some creative meals for you?
Well, I think they're pretty standard when you're in the service.
Like what?
You have, we called it shit on a shingle, but it was, it was, oh God, I don't know. But our food I thought was okay for, what we were doing. I had no complaints.
So there's nothing now that you won't eat because you got so sick of it?
Well, yeah, there was rice. I hated rice because we got kind of stuck when I was on the LST for about 30 days. We ran out of food, and we had a lot of rice aboard, so we started eating rice for about 30 days for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And since that time, I just don't eat rice very often.
Now, what did you do to pass the time when you were on a ship at sea?
Well, most of the time you had to stand watch, and then, I did some letter writing when I was young, and we'd play some cards, and you have duties. You gotta work a still 8-hour day aboard ship to make sure you maintain the ship and keep it up in ship shape, so to speak.
Maybe that's where that phrase comes from.
Yeah, I think so.
And how would you stay in touch with people at home? Was it just letter writing, or?
Yeah, just letter writing. Yeah, we weren't making any overseas phone calls in the 50s.
No internet.
It was very expensive to do that at the time. And of course you didn't have the internet like you have today. You didn't have the communications, no cell phones or anything like that. So today's world is a lot different than what it was in the 50s. But the 50s are another world too. I enjoyed living in the 50s. I thought there were some great years for us and our family.
Do you remember any being gone? You were gone many holidays. Do you remember how you celebrated holidays?
Well, yeah, most of the time we were at sea, and we always tried to get a Christmas dinner in on the ships that I was on. And if we were in port, we'd try to go over and try to get a nice meal or something in town, in the different towns that we were in, mainly in Japan. But that's kind of what, it was just another day to us. Christmas or our birthdays would be another day, really.
Did you get communication from home very often?
Just by letters, through letters.
About how long would it take if you sent a letter or they sent a letter to you before you'd have it, or they
a couple weeks.
Do you remember any particular skills that you learned while you were in the Navy?
Well, yeah, I was learning how to become a diesel mechanic and also refrigeration. And when I came out of service, I went to work for Pacific Greyhound in Los Angeles, and I was a diesel mechanic, there, and that worked out pretty well. Okay.
Didn't you have something fall on you one day when you were at work at the diesel?
Yeah, I had an engine fall on me when I was after I was there about 4 months, and it kind of busted, maybe 4 or 5 months, and it kind of busted me up. This guy took the safety chains off an engine, and it came over when I was standing there, and I go, oh my gosh, and it just busted up my one leg really bad. And but that was my career there for being a mechanic, and I got out of that. And when I finally went back to work, I got into a different field, and I was involved in the fastener industry.
Did that have anything to do with wartime or anything like that?
Well, yeah, some of the stuff we were involved in were making special aerospace rivets and fasteners, for the airplanes and or for tanks and this kind of stuff that was being built. So in the business of the fastener industry, there's all different facets of it. There's the automotive, there's aerospace, there's aluminum rivets. So there were just certain things I was going to get involved in later years as I was involved with the fastener industry and would be trained in doing that kind of stuff.
And what about nowadays? Is there anything that you're doing concerning the military?
Yeah, there is. I'm involved in help designing weapons ever since about in the 1970s. I got involved with depleted uranium, which is DU-238, in working on the 30 millimeter Galley program, and that was, of course, that was just making an armor-piercing bullet out of depleted uranium. I later on went into other things. I've designed, got some patents on working some stuff for the 40 millimeter couplings and stuff like this. So that's kind of what my career has been. I've been very successful in my civilian life since I got out of service. Things have gone well. My wife and I, we do what we want to do when we want to do it. And I'm still not completely retired, and I'm 72, and I'm still in demand. People call me all the time, and whether it be General Dynamics or some of the other major companies in the United States, they get a hold of me for doing design work, and so I've had a chance to really excel in the armament business, even going as far as help working to develop a double-ended bullet and building the warheads for it that is being worked on today in the 25 millimeter.
Do you belong to any veterans organizations?
No, not now. I did when I was younger, when I came out of service, but no, my career has taken all my time, and my family's taken all my time, and so far anyway.
Recently, you received some medals. Tell me about that and why it took so long for you to get them.
Well, I think it was about 4 years ago, I decided that I would take and write to the U.S. Navy Department and see if I couldn't get my combat action ribbon and some of my other medals that I hadn't gotten, like my 50th Korean War presentation that was awarded to Korean veterans after 50 years by the South Korean government. I think a lot of the records were destroyed in a fire, I guess, we had back east many years ago. So anyway, I did finally get all my paperwork. It took almost 2 years to get verification for what I was doing, because I did have my DD Form 214. So it just takes time for them to work up all your stuff and say, yeah, you're awarded these medals and this is what you have, and kept coming in. They were right on the money.
But you're saying it took 2 years. It took 2 years starting when?
Well, it started in about really about 03 through 05, okay. to get everything on paper finally.
Okay. We'll take pictures of those in a minute. Do you have any, is there anyone that you had made friends with in the service that you've maintained any relationships with?
No, I haven't. I have not. When I got out of service, that was it. I went on my own career, and I forgot about the U.S. Navy.
Do you remember the day you left the service?
Yes, I do. I went home, and we were at Pacific Beach. My parents lived in Pacific Beach still, and I was there for about 8 hours, and I said, I'll see. I'm moving to Downey, California, and I'm going to be going to work for Greyhound, and that's what I did in 1955.
Okay. Hang on one sec. Okay, why don't we go through some of your memorabilia you got there, and you tell me what you've got.
Well, this is a picture that I had bought of the USS Arcee, the fleet tug, and this was taken down San Diego, California, and this was a print that you could buy when you wanted a picture of the ship you were on, and this happened to be this Arcee picture I bought. And of course I got up on the upper left hand corner that was sunk in August of 1952. And some of the other pictures I have are the LST that I was on, and this is a picture where we were in Ulsan, Korea, and we were unloading ammunition and bombs at the time. And this is some of the other bombs that were on a kind of a floating type raft. Okay.
And when you unloaded them, how'd you get them off?
Well, they were taken off really by hand. There was a group of 4 to 6 people that would take and they'd grab a hold of a rope between them, and let's see, I got a picture here of that somewhere, and they would actually drag it right off the front of the ship.
So what happens if you drop it?
You just prayed that it didn't go. I don't think they were fused at the time, but the bottom picture down there was showing how there was 4 of them on a 1,000-pound bomb.
1,000 pounds.
Yeah, that was a 1,000-pound bomb. There was 4 of them that would carry that thing off of there that way. And if you looked at, let's see, how much we really carried, there's a bunch of pictures of where the bombs were. Okay. Quite a few pounds of ammunition. Okay. And then one night we had a little mishap where they tried to hit us, and a bomb plane came in and tried to hit us, and what they did, they hit the train tracks and everything started blowing. Okay, so you can see the devastation from the tracks all ripped up. There's nothing left of the trains, and of course we had a MiG that came in over the top of us and through the mountains there and kind of missed us. And some of the fun times though we went to Kyoto, and this is a pictures of some of their parks, and this Kyoto Park, and that was some good times that we had over there on that.
Are you in this picture? The one on the...
Let's see, let me take a look and see. Yes, I am. I can't tell you which one I am, but I am in the picture.
Aren't you the guy on the far left?
Yeah. Guess what? That is me.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I came back, I did. I saved some of the money from Japan, and this is some of that
So...
that we had.
Let me get that there.
I'm gonna go see what else I got here. Some of the other pictures. This is Chief Rob Nett, who talked about surviving the USS Arctic. He was down up front when they blew off 75 feet of the bow, and how he had to swim out from his quarters, and so he talks about the escape from death that he called over there.
How were they rescued? If the ship was sunk, was there another ship close by?
No, we were rescued 7 hours later. We had to swim to sea. Okay. We only had one whaleboat available at that time, and so the rest of the crew had to put on life jackets and they headed out to sea.
Okay.
A cruiser came in the next morning and picked us up.
Was the water cold?
Yes, it's always cold in Korea. Here's some pictures of me when I was in and younger. Okay. And that was aboard the LST at the time.
Is that the gun you'd hunt for deer with?
Yeah, yeah, the 30 caliber carbine.
Okay, keep that there for a second. What are you doing in the picture where you're kind of bent over a little bit?
Let's see. Oh, I was just kind of messing around with kind of swabbing the deck, we called it. You know, I was here. I was going to swab the deck.
Okay. Keeping it ship shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Let's see, I showed you those.
What kind of camera did you guys have then?
We had an Argus C3 camera. And let's see here. I don't want to show you that. Okay, here's the picture of the Corsair that we pulled out. The plane that we pulled out up there in Wonsan Harbor. And of course, you can see how close we were to the land. Okay, and you figure we were way up in North Korea. Okay.
How long did it take you to get that plane? If you knew where it was, how long did it take you to get it out?
Probably about 6-7 hours.
And somebody actually dove down and hooked it up?
Yes, we did. Yeah, that's where Chief Parrish went down on his dive and hooked rope around his tail, and then we drug it out, and we got out the decoder and the other stuff we had to get out of there.
When you say drug it out, is that manually, or did you have a crane? Did you have kind of?
Yeah, we have a boom on the back of the fleet tug. You have a boom, and then it's kind of like what they do today to load, load lumber on top of the building. You have a boom and crane it up on top. And then when we were over there later on the LST, when I talked about hitting the beach and you have a 27-foot tide drop, this. Let's see, I got a shiny thing on this. This picture shows the LST high and dry.
So you're not going anywhere?
We're not going anywhere, not until the tide comes back in. Okay. And there was a little kid there that was doing some fishing in a little hole. You see that? I thought that was pretty interesting.
So he's not afraid?
No, they weren't afraid.
Okay.
And then in 1953, we had what they called napalm, which is the bombs that catch on fire. And you can see there's a picture of the ship with the napalm not on there, and then a picture of the ship where the napalm is on there. Okay. So that was just what was up on the main deck. And I say down below we had all the bombs, the 1,000, 2,000 pound bombs we were carrying over there.
And are there ever planes trying to bomb your bomb?
Not out there, no.
Okay.
We were at sea on our way from Japan going over to Korea.
What is it, other than those two pictures that you just described, what are the other two pictures of?
That's the other two pictures. One was in Yokosuka, Japan, and that was down in here, okay. And then the one over on this side here, we were at a battle station. There was a floating mine out there, and we were gonna take it out that day and blow it up.
So you shoot at it?
Yeah, yeah. That's why we were manning the stations there. Okay.
Okay.
And when we talked about the train track and all the damage there, that's up in this corner here. That's a closer up picture of that, if you can see this right here. That's just some of the damage that was caused when they tried to hit that. And then going back a little bit further, here is the picture of where we were pulling out the Corsair. And or did I show you that?
You showed me the
I
photo.
showed you that one? Okay. Anyway, this is just a copy of what I did on that one. And, anyway, then this is kind of bringing back some memories here. This is we went to Hong Kong in 1953, and of course they passed us out this map, and on this map it showed the places that you could go and the places you couldn't go.
Was that why you're on a leave?
Yeah, we just kind of go over and do a Liberty, okay?
Okay.
And but I remember that they wouldn't let me over on the Kowloon side because too much of it was restricted, and they had restricted in a shaded area. But I can remember that I was down over here in Hong Kong, and at that time, we were making $75, $80, $90 a month, and I went over and I bought a white sharkskin sailor's uniform, okay, and I ended up going over there, and I picked it up that afternoon.
How much did it cost you?
Yeah, it cost me about $35, $40.
Half a month's
And
salary?
something happened, yeah, because I don't remember what all happened, but I was pretty young, about 18, and we, maybe even 19. And I got into an argument, I got into a fight, and I got all bloody in my sharkskin uniform, got all bloodied up, and I was rolling around in the streets of Hong Kong, I remember. And anyway, I wrecked the uniform, and I went back to the ship, and they looked at me and they said, "What the heck happened to you?" And I just said, "Well, you won't believe this, but I just spent half a month's salary out here. And I'm done. I'll see ya." And I'll never forget that I had to throw away the sharkskin uniform that I had made, and that was my only day I spent in Hong Kong at that time. Okay.
And you had it made. Did they make it for you right then?
Yeah. These tailors in Hong Kong are very, very good. Okay. And anyway, it was a fun time, okay, that I had. Was just some of the things I just happen to remember. I did this over there. Pretty good. Okay, that's kind of my career and what I did.
I want you to show me what you got up here on the wall in your office.
Oh. After I got my medals, my paperwork and all my medals that I was awarded, I took in I put it into a plaque, and this one up here is the United Nations Service Medal that we received. This was my Good Conduct Medal here. This one here is the National Defense Service Medal that was awarded. This one right here is the Combat Action Ribbon that I was awarded in 05 for what we did back in 1952. Up in here is the 50th Korean War Anniversary Medal, which was presented by the South Koreans. And the medal here is the Korean War Service Medal, which I have 6 campaigns in that one. So I have a Silver Star and a Bronze Star on that one. And the Korean Presidential Unit Citation, which was issued to us for kind of saving the frigate and the crew members. That was this one. There's no medal that went with that one. I've had the plaque made up, which shows each one of these corresponding medals. And then in 1953, in a San Diego paper, my parents put in a article about me and serving in a war zone aboard Korean landing craft LST with Task Force 77 off Korea. And it says, you know, we served aboard the Sarsi, the ATF, from October 24th, 51 until the sinking of August 27th. And it just talks about the fatal day of the Sarsi. And I enlisted in the Navy July 14th, 1951. And
What's that hanging on the outside of the frame?
These were my dog tags, okay, that I had when I was in the service. So
You wear those every day?
no, I wore those every day when I was in. Yeah, but I don't wear them now. Anyway, we kind of put this thing up. I thought it'd be nice to have this for my kids to have this later on in life, and they can put it in a cabinet or something like that. Okay.
And over here, you got your patents that have to do with.
Well, yeah, this one on the right here. I did a thing for the 40mm cartridge in 1999. I designed a coupling, and we patented the process, and we issued the paperwork. We submitted the paperwork really for the patent in 2002, and they just granted in March 7th of 2006 the patent for this one. And this other one over here was issued about a month later on something I started in 1999. And it's on what they call a pick and place unit. And that one took the same amount of time. We actually put it for the patents both at the same time. But here to see the issue on this one was April 18th, and the one on this was March 7th. So a couple months later, after this one was put in, and I was awarded the patent on that over there. My name is on a numerous amount of patents in the United States right now.
Okay, is there anything else that you can think of that you want to say?
No, I think my career is over.
Career's over.
Yeah, I think my career is over. I've been trying to retire really for the last 15 years, and I'm down now to where I try not to work very often, and you know, trying to enjoy life and take cruises and relax and have fun.
Where were you on 9/11, the fateful day?
Oh, I was over in Brussels, okay, overseas, and we were aboard a ship at the time. We was on a cruise ship, and we ended up, we were in town when the 9/11 attack hit, because of course we were in later hours than what we were here in the United States. So it was their daytime when it actually on their evening when it hit. So, but anyway, we got kind of stuck over there. There was no planes coming in or coming out, and we knew that about 5-6 days later we were going to end up having to be in Rome, and still nothing was flying at that time. But then everything broke loose and said, okay, we're going to start flying to the United States. So we got out of there. Otherwise, we were going to take the cruise ship back to Florida, and then just rent a car and come back across from Florida across the United States. It's a weird feeling when you're out of the country and something like that happens, like happens in 9/11. Going back in the 80s, my wife and I had dinner up in the World Trade Centers, and absolutely beautiful from up on top. You're looking down at the Empire State Building, and I'm saying, oh my God, if this thing ever went over, it wouldn't fall, but it can go over. I wouldn't want to be up here. And yet, look what happened in 01. Here, the whole thing comes down, both of them, and you go, my God, this is just unbelievable. And I didn't realize at first that, I had been there in the 80s and up, having dinner up on the 102nd floor, or whatever we were at the time, and going all the way around. I remember it was all glass up on top, and we were just walking from one side of the building to the other and all the way around it and looking out. But my comment was, if this thing ever goes, it'll go over, not down. But that's not what happened. So.
Do you remember when you came back to LAX, the difference it was from when you had left it?
Well, yeah, there was a different atmosphere at the airport. A lot of things were a lot tighter, okay, when we came in, and you just don't know what's going on when things like this happen. There can be a lot more conspiracy things going on in this country, and you just don't know. Time will tell of everything that was going on back in the 01, 02.
Did you have a feeling being in a foreign land? Were you treated any differently that week?
Yeah. They treated us very nice in foreign countries. We hit Italy, we hit France. They were very sympathetic for our losses. And of course, at that time, they didn't know how many people we really lost. They didn't know how bad it was really was. They didn't understand all the ins and outs of. They were trying to hit the Pentagon. They were trying to do other things. They wanted to hit the White House. You just don't know all the answers until later on, but you just can't jump to conclusions when you're in this kind of a situation either. So.
Did you feel safe?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely yes. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say about the war efforts going on right now in Iraq?
Well, from what I feel right now, I've been kind of involved in the building of ammunition, special bullets, and this kind of stuff, and we've built with the past few years. But we're over there, and we're not hitting them with everything we have. Okay, and we have a lot of real sophisticated weaponry in the United States, but we're not using it. We don't want to kill innocent people. We've never wanted to kill innocent people. But sometimes you got to go in and show them. And I think in today's world with what's happening in Iraq, I'd go over there and I'd level one town and I'd say, okay, now clearing it up. And this is exactly what I would do if I was running the world, okay? And I'd level it, no doubt in my mind. Okay. And I'd say, okay, this is what we got. You want to fight us, or you want to just back off and let's look at having a nice society over here of some sort, okay? Then the South Koreans were very smart in what they did. We went in and helped them, and today they're a very prosperous country. China is very prosperous from the United States, and what we've done with just not only the fastener industry, but with free trade. Wars and the threats of wars, they don't do anything in our country. I think they're a hindrance. People that want to start wars are crazy. And in the United States, we have some of the smartest people in the world here, and you're not going to win. They're not going to win. They're not going to beat us. So that's kind of what my feelings are about what's going on in Vietnam. I mean, no, not Vietnam, but in Iraq.
Well, thanks a lot, and we'll put your story in the Library of Congress, and others can hear about it.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.